for coming here. It's the first time we met, I was just thinking about it. We spent several months on retreat together and never talked, which I knew who they were, and I would see them, and it was a pretty small, intimate environment, and so we ran into each other often. But I just find it really interesting that our whole relationship started in silence for a couple of months. And at the end of one of those months, I found this next to my shoes one day, which was their first book, which is called How Not to Be a Hot Mess, which was such a fun and beautiful read. And they're here to talk about their new book, which is this, it's centered on relationships, and it's called This Messy, Gorgeous Love. They've been together for many years. I don't even know how many, but I know they're both young. And even in their house right now, they're in separate rooms, you know? That's how they keep their relationship nice and tight. But they're both very seasoned practitioners. I know Devin's been practicing since your early 20s, probably. Starting in Tibetan Sangha and then moving into Insight, and have spent, I think, a total of maybe 6 years on retreat, including 3 years. And then Nico is a longtime practitioner as well, used to be a Zen monk, and also did a 3-year retreat. And they're both really wonderful relational teachers, and I'm very grateful to know them. So I hand the mic to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, everyone. It's so sweet to be here with all of you. We've been on a bit of a tour in the last couple of weeks. I think we've been in like 12 or 13 different geographies. So Zoom is magic in that way. We've been in Massachusetts and Montana and Los Angeles and Colorado a couple times, and now we're here in California. So it's very sweet to see all of you on Zoom and all of you in person, and to be able to, yeah, I mean, I'm grateful to be invited into your beautiful community, into your Sangha. And like Adam said, we're going to talk a little bit about this book, This Messy, Gorgeous Love, a Buddhist guide to lasting partnership. And then, you know, we hope you'll buy 11 or 12 or 13 copies and give them to all of your friends. My sister actually did that, and she handed them out around her neighborhood in the free little libraries. So, you don't have to buy 12, but maybe 9 would be great. And we're going to start with a little meditation that's coming directly out of the book. One of the things that we talk about in the book is the importance of deep listening. And that starts with just this ability to listen here, which is how we think of sati. There's lots of different ways to talk about sati, mindfulness, bare knowing. But the way we think about sati these days is that it's just a really deep listening. And it's a deep listening that starts kind of at home. And then when we really find ourselves listening here, it becomes possible to extend that listening to others. And everything we're going to talk about tonight applies, of course, to partnership, but it's really about relationships in general. One of the most important foundational skills that we can have in any relationship is just this deep listening. So let's do a little meditation, a little deep listening to the body and the heart. So wherever you are, you could find a nice, comfortable meditation posture. And you're not on the cover of Yoga Journal, so it doesn't have to look good, but it's nice if it feels good. So, yeah, maybe just settling in. I like to rock back and forth a little bit. See how that feels. You could allow your eyes to close or soften your gaze. And you might take a couple of deeper breaths if that's comfortable for you. And then let's just bring a warm awareness, a kind attention to your feet. And this is the beginning of cultivating sustained and sustaining listening. Really getting curious about your own feet. Almost like you've never felt your feet before. What are you feeling in your feet? Is it warm or cool? Touching something rough or smooth? Pleasant, unpleasant? How is it in your feet? And we could just spend a couple of minutes in silence getting so interested, living inside our feet. And then let's see if we can move that deep listening, sweetness of attention to our hands. Maybe letting go of any image that you might have of what your hands look like or what you assume them to be, and just living in your hands. It's like you're inside your own hands. And when you're ready, inviting that deep listening into your heart. It's like you're listening to the center of your heart, finding what is alive in your own heart. What do you find here? Maybe there is joy or sadness, irritation, contentment, fear, whatever you find. It's just a kind of listening, and then a deeper listening, listening to your heart. And you might notice that your mind wanders. You get caught up in thinking about the future or the past, or even about the present. And when you notice that you've been lost, you could just come back. It's like you're placing your full warm awareness on your heart, just listening to what is alive, what is here in your own heart. As you listen deeply in this way, you may encounter difficulty. Maybe it's just a quiet restlessness, a feeling of needing to be somewhere else, a kind of wind blowing through your heart. Or it could be the edges of grief, disappointment, wanting, not wanting. All of this is welcome. There's no demand, no need to manage what is alive for you. For now, for these few minutes together, you could just listen, not needing to be anything or anyone, just for this time together, listening a little deeper, to your own heart. Yeah, and when you're ready, you could let your body begin to rock, let your body move, slowly start to stretch, open your eyes. And even as you are moving and stretching and looking around, listening, even as we move into this 5 minute break, see if you can keep part of your attention on your body, maybe even on your heart. See if you can sustain a kind of thread of listening as we move into the 5 minute break. And then as we start to have some more talking, conversation, questions, answer all the rest, like you might notice you got lost. That's just like the meditation. You can just come back and start to listen again and start to listen again. Yeah, so let's take a little stretch break and we'll come back at 40 minutes after the hour. See you very soon.
So, welcome back. If you're at home, you can start heading back towards your device. We'll gather again. And yeah, just a lot of gratitude. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Mountain Stream, for having us. I've heard wonderful things about your Sangha actually for many years. John Travis was one of the very first teachers at Spirit Rock, in one of my, first retreats in 2001. So I feel like a long time connection to all of you, even though we've never visited in person. But we hope to. And I'm just really touched by everybody who's here and joining us in person. Looks like there's a little crowd there, which is nice. And then everyone at home. And I'm seeing some familiar faces, which is also really sweet as well. So, Nico and I are in Madison, Wisconsin, where the cherry blossoms are just starting. It's very late spring out here. But I spent the day in the Arboretum where just like hundreds of trees are blossoming, and it's such a magical time. It, has a sense of wonder, like how wonderful that we're all alive at this time in this place and that we can practice Dharma together. What a gift. What a precious human birth. And so I'm feeling that this evening. It's dark out here. It's later, and I'm watching the lightning. Actually, there's a big Midwestern lightning storm happening behind the screen. So that's all here present with us. And also this little book that has made its way out into the world, and it's so fun to get to hold it in our hands and smell it and read from it. And so, in a kind of old school way, I'm gonna read to you. It's story time. You can settle in. And I thought I would read the very first story in the very first chapter. Uh, so this will just be about 4 pages, and then Nico and I will offer a joint talk and reflection on some of the topics in here. So this is chapter 1, relationships are rough. One beautiful autumn day, we were camping in our van on a friend's farm in the Northeast Kingdom in the far reaches of Vermont, just shy of the Canadian border. The foliage burst forth in a bright weave of oranges, reds, and yellows, the sun reaching through the leaves in shafts of gentle light, the sky blue as a robin's egg. It was the perfect day to take pictures for our website. The weather was right. The foliage was at peak. Our beloved friend, Isabella, a gifted photographer, was staying next door. There was only one problem. I dislike having my picture taken. Strongly. No, two problems. I had also forgotten that we were supposed to take pictures at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, right as I was revving up to respond to dozens of emails from students, colleagues, trainees, and other beloved, but sometimes high maintenance Buddhists and meditators. Oh, and a third problem. I was tired, like really tired. Not just that kind of sleepy tired you get when you need a little nap, but that desperate tired you get when you've been living in a 70 square foot van with your partner for the past year. We'd been traveling far and wide, teaching much too much with not enough breaks, and my whole body, heart, mind was going into lockdown. Everything felt like way too much. I don't do well when I'm that kind of tired. And so when Nico walked up to the van at 8:50 a.m., all full of sunshine, and said cheerily, "Ready to take some pictures?" I didn't even look up from my laptop. "What pictures?" I said. He paused. I could feel him bristle. Carefully, he said, the pictures that we're scheduled to do with Isabella in 10 minutes? I still didn't look up from my screen. He pressed on, for our website. I don't want to take pictures, I said. I heard him take a breath. I could feel him digging for some relational skills. For some reason, that just made me feel more stubborn, more annoyed. Yeah, he said, pictures are no fun. I don't really like pictures either. But we haven't done them in a while, and we need them for our website and for when we send out bios and for Instagram. So this happened right after we came out of our 3-year retreat, and Nico had been rocking this like long beard all through our retreat, and then he shaved it. And so this is what I chose to say in that very delicate moment. I said, if you hadn't shaved your beard, we wouldn't need these pictures. I glanced up to watch that one land. I saw hurt cross my partner's face and then anger. The Buddha likened speech to an axe. You can use an axe for good things, for shaping wood into beams for a barn, or making kindling to heat your home. But if you're not careful, you can use that axe as a weapon. I was perfectly aware that I was in the process of using speech as a weapon. But in my tiredness, I also felt really irritable. And smiling for a photograph at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday was looking like a total impossibility, an encroachment. More than that, a lie. And I just couldn't bring myself to say something kind or skillful in the face of all this piling wrongness. So, in a moment of emotional free fall, I said the one thing I knew would blow the whole conversation to smithereens. I'm not doing the pictures. And that's when Nico lost it. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it wasn't pretty. And I don't remember what I said back, but I can assure you it did not adhere to any of the carefully formulated suggestions we'll be making throughout this book. Nope, it was like we were riding a tandem bike downhill fast, both of us pedaling furiously away. Tit for tat, getting more petty by the second. Did we drag up past hurts? Yes, indeed. Did we fall into blame and judgment? 100%. The whole mess descended into a circus of swirling hurt and anger, spiraling out into widening circles of discontent. Yet, simultaneously, I had a bizarre split experience. Some wiser, cooler part of me watched the performance, shook her head, and said, it doesn't have to be this way. This other part of me knew that the details of our fight were actually a sideshow, that the real work was waiting to be done underneath all the silly little grenades we were lobbing at each other across the divide. Finally, after what was quite possibly the longest 2 minutes of our marriage, I said, let's pause. At first, Nico looked at me like I had truly lost it. Now you're the wise one, his eyes seemed to say. But to his credit, he shut his mouth. And we actually did pause. We actually did take a breath. In fact, I literally put a hand on my heart, which can sound ridiculous, but is a surprisingly effective way to settle an overactivated nervous system. From there, I sensed my body, not a pleasant move, since it felt like electricity was racing from my crown to my feet. Speaking of my feet, I could feel them too, and I sensed the way they were rooting me to the earth. I sensed the cushion I was sitting on and how stable the van was beneath me. And from this received stability, I accessed just enough willpower to turn toward my intention. What do I really want here? Love, of course. Support. Connection. I was exhausted and frayed, and what I really wanted was for Nico to sit down for a minute and tell me everything was going to be okay. And what was I doing in that delicate moment? Undermining the very support I needed. This contemplation took all of 10 seconds. Then another 2 seconds while I clawed through my resistance, my defensiveness, the seeming vulnerability of what I was about to say. Okay, I said finally, I'm sorry. I'm just so tired right now. And just like that, the situation shifted. Like we'd found the brakes on the tandem bike. Like we could slow down, pull over to the side of the road together, and find a nice patch of green grass to sit on for a while. Yeah, Nico said, visibly softening. I'm tired too. And so we talked about being tired. We talked about how hard it was living in a van. Wonderful, of course, a dream come true, but difficult. Then we talked about how much we both hate having our pictures taken. And Nico's pretty funny. I soon found myself laughing. And then I found myself appreciating all the work he'd been doing on our website and our mailing lists and our socials. And then he was appreciating all the teaching I'd been doing lately and how meaningful it felt and how lucky we both were to do the work we love. A little while later, we were walking arm in arm to meet our dear friend Isabella. 20 minutes late, but there, fully present and together. Well, thank you. And I'm going to turn to Nico, who I think is lying down on the couch right now. Were you lying down? You were listening. Okay, we just couldn't see you. You want to tell us some about relationships and how they're rough?
Sure. Yeah, so when we were writing this book, we had one main rule, which we called get real. And that was a rule for us first, which was that we were gonna tell everybody like our worst possible moments. Because I think there's this really strong storyline in our culture around happily ever after. And it's not just happily ever after in partnership, it's like happily ever after, period. Like if you just get the right job, or if you just get the right car, house, diet, exercise routine, supplements, then you're cool. Like from then on, it is smooth sailing. Right. And with partnership, it's really strong. Like the end of every romantic comedy is the couple finds each other and then they're good. And not only does that solve the problem of partnership, it somehow magically solves all the other problems in their life. And that's the end of the movie. Right. And so the get real, it's like, is that how it works? Intellectually, we know, of course, that's not how it works. We're all mature adults and we're not fooled by that. But the narrative structure is so deep in us that there is this feeling of like, if I'm struggling, it's a failure. And if I'm struggling in a partnership or a relationship, even with like a parent or with a child or with a boss, there must be something wrong with me, or there must be something wrong with them, or there might be something wrong like with the relationship itself. And so we have these two friends that are Dharma teachers and, you know, pretty wise human beings. They got together in their 40s. They'd been married previously. They knew the deal. But when they got together, they fell so deeply in love. It was like fireworks and bright lights. It was beautiful. And that honeymoon phase lasted for long enough. It was like a year or two that they kind of got fooled. They thought like, oh, well, the problem was the previous partnerships, but now we found the one. It's going to be easier. It's going to be like this until, of course, they moved in together and they were sharing finances and they were sharing space and they were having these like incredibly irritating conversations again and again and again about the most ridiculous things. Things like whether to put the forks into the dishwasher facing up or down. But somehow these things represented deeper things, and pretty soon they found themselves just spiraling again and again and again, these conversations. Until one day, one of them turned to the other and said, relationships are dukkha. And they were like, oh, right. Yes, relationships are dukkha. Of course, relationships are dukkha, right? Because dukkha is baked in to the whole thing of being alive. Dukkha is a feature. It's not a bug. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with me. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with our partnership. Like, this is the way it be. Right? And from that moment, it's not like the difficulties went away. It was that the resistance to those difficulties went away. And this we find to be true in our own experimentation. And you can try this out for yourself. We find this to be true in all of these different areas in our life. It's not just about partnership. It's like we think our relationship with our parents should be easy, or we think our relationship with our kids should be easy, or whatever that struggle happens to be. Everybody's got that person or those people that are just getting under their skin. It's like, yeah. Why? Because relationships are by nature dukkha. And this word dukkha, we love the word dukkha. A lot of you probably know the word dukkha. You sometimes we translate it as suffering, and that's a shame because it means a lot more than suffering. It's like this, you could call it unreliability or ungovernableness, uncontrollableness. It's like this underlying rub, just kind of a tension that's just with you. And the etymology of the word dukkha is like a wheel that doesn't quite fit with the axle. So dukkha is like a bumpy ride. And if you think about two people in partnership, or you think about a parent and a child, or you think about a family system, like it's not just one wheel that's not exactly fitting the axle. You got two wheels both bumping around, not quite fitting the axle. It's going to be a seriously bumpy ride. And when we can just accept that, like, oh, yeah, okay, it's going to be difficult. There's going to be conflict. There's going to be tensions. There's going to be like endless conversations about ridiculous things. Some of your resistance to that drops away. And that makes a pretty big difference. That makes it workable. Not only workable on a logistical or a pragmatic level, but it deeper than that. It's like that's what makes this dharma. And then the relationship is no longer a problem to solve. It's the like the crucible or it's like the ground of transformation itself. And then we get to bring all of our resources, like all of our practice resources, we can bring into the relationship. Then we get to use the relationship, whatever kind of relationship it happens to be, like to wake up. I'm gonna pass it to Devin.
Yeah. So some of you know this sutta probably that it's one of my favorites. It's about Ananda, the Buddha's cousin and attendant. And Ananda is known for having these big insights, but he was actually a little bit slower to awaken. So we love Ananda because we can relate to him. So he comes to the Buddha, he had this big insight in his practice. He says, I saw that spiritual friendship is half of the holy life. And the Buddha kind of chides him and says, not so, not so, Ananda. Spiritual friendship is the whole of the holy life. And taken at face value, that teaching is just emphasizing the importance of friends on the path and Sangha community. So that's what I thought the sutta meant for years. But as we started to write more about relationships, we started thinking about relational practice. For me, I extended this definition to mean if we think about how we are relational beings, we're always in relationship to something, aren't we? We're sensing the world. Our sense gates are in relationship to the external world. We're relating to ourselves, to our internal world. We're relating to whoever's in front of us, our relations, our loved ones, our circles of influence, our communities, strangers out there. So the whole of the holy life, if we think about everything being relationship, then making each connection meaningful, right? We're making each relation meaningful. Each moment is meaningful. Each experience of our own body, heart, mind system, each experience of our loved ones is the material for our waking up, for our mindfulness, our sati. So in the book, we talk about this deep listening that Nico introduced that we just did together. And that's one translation for sati, for mindfulness. And in the very basic sutta, the Satipatthana Sutta, which many of you know, this foundational mindfulness practice, the Buddha suggests that we practice mindfulness in three ways. And he repeats this again and again. He says, be mindful internally, be mindful externally, and be mindful both internally and externally. So this is the way that spiritual friendship can become the whole of the holy life, that our entire practice becomes about relating, about connection, is by recognizing I know what's happening inside here. That's already such a gift to be in alignment with ourselves, to know how is this heart to be deeply listening there. Such a beautiful generosity we can give to ourselves and then to anybody else we're relating to. When we step into the room, we're already there, attuned. And we learn that in retreat. We talk a lot about this, right? We learn how to meditate. But what about this external mindfulness? Just as important, the Buddha says, be mindful of those around you. We're getting to know our own heart, mind, body, but we're getting to know the hearts, the minds, the bodies of others too. And I would argue that we probably should put more emphasis on that external mindfulness because we're kind of trained to just do the inside part. And so, how is it to actually bring that same warm attention, the kind awareness, this curiosity to another, especially a loved one, a child, a grandparent, an aging parent, an adult, cousins, sisters, brothers, siblings? How is it? It's such an act of love, I find. And we realize that a lot of what we need as humans is just understanding, right? We just want that kind of listening. We want to be fully understood. We want the deep presence of another. So that's also such a gift we can give to all of our relations, this mindful presence without an agenda, a lot of curiosity. How is it for you right now? And then the internally and externally, that could be a whole other Dharma talk. What did he mean by both? And the way we frame it, it's like the relationship itself is worthy of our mindfulness. How is the relationship? What's the state of it? Is it peaceful? Is it bumpy? Is it stressed out? Relationships go through all kinds of different phases, long distance relationships, the way that, different people holding different adversities and hardships bring that to the relationship. There can be different terrains. And it's important to listen to that context and that situation. It will keep us really wise and skillful in the way we respond. We did a podcast with Tammy Simon. It was really fun. She was sharing a lot about her 25-year relationship. And she was saying at this point, it has its own entity. And it's like a monster that has many arms and hands and, all these different personalities that come out in the relational space. And so giving that free rein, our full attention, our warm awareness to the relationship itself is also such a gift, this curiosity. So this three-way listening is one tool that we offer. There's lots of different ones, but it's one way we bring this depth Dharma. This is classical, traditional Dharma right from the Satipatthana Sutta into our daily lives. This is how our whole lives become our practice. Spiritual friendship is the whole of the holy life because we can be in spiritual friendship all the time, every moment, by practicing this three-way listening. So the invitation then is to get creative. We share one way we do this explicitly. And we tell the story about how when we were in 3-year retreat, it was really kind of just the two of us. Traditionally in 3-year retreat, you'd be in a sangha and you might be doing it in a smaller group of people. But we did it in this kind of iconoclastic way where it was really just me and Nico for from 2020 to 2023. It was just a long period of a lot of practice, sometimes in silence, sometimes practicing rituals and chanting together. But what we found is we needed these different tools for relational practice and how to kind of stay updated with each other because we were in these deep, different states of consciousness. And so we really brought the check-in to our daily routine. And I'm sure many of you have done the check-in. It doesn't seem like, it's not brain science. Is that what's the, what's the phrase? It's not like astrophysics. It's not super fancy. It's just the check-in. It's deceptively simple. I have this thing where I misinterpret phrases. And Nico and I were just talking about that before teaching. Sorry. Anyway, that phrase where it's not complicated. It's really simple. The check-in. The check-in is really simple. But it can be deceptively simple because there's a whole art. There's a whole art to listening, isn't it? I mean, I've done this with different people where they're like, oh, yeah, we check in at work, we check in with friends. But actually, this happens to me a lot where I'm starting to check in and then the friend is like, oh, but I want to hear more about this, or they're starting to solve my problems, or they're interrupting with more questions. And that's not, it's another kind of active listening. But the check-in is much more deliberate in terms of these roles where you just have one speaker and then you have a listener and maybe even set a timer. Being formal about it is good. You can do like 5 minutes to start. That's what we recommend. 5 minutes, first speaker speaks. 5 minutes is a long time. So you could check in, with us in the mornings, we do this and we just check in about our day, our to-do list, what we're up to. So that's useful, know our schedule. But then we kind of drop down deeper and it's an opportunity to kind of share what's on your heart. Get that kind of internal, external listening. And then when you swap roles, you get to hear, how the other person is. And then you could do another, like a third 5 minute kind of conversation about what you heard. You could talk about the relationship. How is it? Mirror back for each other. Listen back. It's not rocket science. That's the phrase I was looking for. Took me a minute. That's what I meant. So we describe it in the book. You can do this with your friends, with your family. We have now brought the check-in to all of our relations. And the thing to know is that some people are going to love this. They're going to be so down to check in with you. Like some friends, that's all I do. We just get on the phone, we check in. Other people, very deep spiritual people, will not want to do the check-in with you. They just want to have a regular conversation. And so if your person or your partner that you want to check in with is like, no, why are we doing this? Can't we just cook together, right? There's other ways you can practice the three-way listening if that other person just isn't a check-in person. You could do collage together. That's a creative thing. Just spending 15 minutes in a deliberate way, practicing, however you want to frame that, gardening, going for a walk. These are all ways that you can be mindful about the internal, external, and both. So very skillful, very useful foundation then to practice rain and partner rain and all of these other, we have lots of journaling exercises and different ways that you can kind of update with each other. You can sync up. Practicing joy, that's a whole other piece that we name in the book. So we just wanted to bring in a couple of these, little pieces to offer to you. And we also know like there's all kinds of different constellations in the room, different relational patterns, different ways that you are in your, spiritual friendships, the whole of the holy life. So we wanted to leave plenty of time for questions, comments, anecdotes, things to share, other curiosities you might have. We are available and might not have the perfect phrase for it, but I will make one up if you're looking for some like smart turn of phrase. I can always improvise. So I'm sure you have ways in the hall to ask a question, or those who are online, just feel free to come on and unmute or raise a hand. And yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you so much, Devin. This is Jen. I'm in the hall and we have a microphone so that we can pass to anybody who wants to raise a hand. And that way the folks who are on Zoom can hear what we're saying from this big room. And since our teachers are already on Zoom, I will let you guys scan the board, the screen.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Jen.
Yeah, pleasure. Okay, we have a friend from the hall. Start with your name.
Thanks. My name's Leticia. Thank you guys. You guys seem super adorbs, and it's a blessing to hear you guys and see you guys relate. Yeah, and I was just curious, when I hear couples say they went on a 3-year retreat, it blows my mind. And so I'm just curious, like what, and I'm sure that's in your book, but what brought you guys to a 3-year retreat in your van, and like what did that entail for your Dharma?
Yeah, thank you. Great question. So our 3-year retreat, oh, there's a big echo for me, but that's okay. Our 3-year retreat really started on our first date, or the seeds for our 3-year retreat started on our first date when I was living in the Zen monastery. I was a Zen monastic. I'd been there for 5 years, and I was incredibly dedicated to my Sangha and my practice. And, Zen monastics have no personal space and no time. And so I said to Devin on our first date, I should wear a sign on my chest that says run, because I am like so not dating material. And Devin said back to me two things. First, she said, well, I don't take refuge in you. Like I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And then she said, also, at some point, I'm going to do a 3-year retreat. And so that was like the seed planted in that first part of our relationship before we were even really dating. And it went over through many iterations and many possibilities. So the weekend we got engaged, we actually visited a 3-year retreat center outside of Portland, Oregon. But then we ended up not doing that particular retreat. We had 3 different friends that did that retreat, but we didn't do that one. And it wasn't until I finished my PhD that we had the momentum, the resources, the support from others to actually do this 3-year retreat. And we were planning on this. I'm going to try to make this fairly short, but we were planning like a traditional cloistered 3-year retreat where we would go away and not come out for 3 years. And we were trying to save money and fundraise and things. And then we were, talking to our Tibetan teacher, Mingyur Rinpoche. And we went to him, and he had been involved in the process the whole way through, but he hadn't heard about it for a year. So we were telling him the progress and talking to him about what we were going to do. And then we said to Mingyur Rinpoche, do you have any advice for us? Totally expecting some beautiful esoteric tantric empowerment or something, And he paused, and then he said, save for retirement. Which was like the most mind-blowing thing that any monastic has ever said to us. Like, what? Save for retirement? Like, here's this Tibetan who doesn't handle money and who's in like red robes and shaved head. And he said, yeah, save for retirement. All these Western students that I know, they go into 3-year retreat and then they come out and they have no resources and they're in really desperate situations. So be financially responsible. You should save for retirement. And so we said, well, but that means we can't be in cloistered retreat because we're going to have to work a little bit. And he said, yeah, good. That's great. So go into little bits of retreat and then come out and keep practicing a lot, but work enough so that you have financial resources so that you can keep saving for retirement. And so that we, in consultation with him and one of our other teachers, we designed this structure where we would be like in really strict retreat for a few months, and then we would come out, and when we were out of retreat, we would do like sessions, one-on-one mentoring with our students, and we'd do like Zoom teaching and things. And then we'd go, even during that time when we were out of retreat, we'd be practicing 40 hours a week, and we would be working, teaching like 10 to 20 hours a week. And then we'd go back into like these intensive periods in the mountains, in cabins and such, and then come back out. And so that's how we did this 3.5 years, was, coming in and out of really strict retreat and trying to integrate all the way through with a working life and being in relationship to others.
And I would just add, in some ways, I think this book is the outcome of those years. We were so lucky to have each other, in that we were checking in a lot and kind of mirroring back and hearing about how our practice was going. And in some ways we became each of us our own best teacher. It's like we were the one who kind of could see up close what was happening. And so we did a lot of checking in, a lot of partner rein. But by the time we came out, there was some really outgrown dynamics that were pretty painful. In some ways you could classify that as codependency, but we had just fallen into these ruts, as a couple, because we were like the only other person we had seen for years, just not a lot of other interaction, some teaching, some seeing family and stuff, but not a ton. And so we went into therapy and had to develop all of these other tools that then we write about in here because of those patterns that we were seeing. So, it's funny how life works. Like in the middle of the retreat, we thought we were going to write some big esoteric Buddhist thing, come out with this glowing book about our 3-year retreat experience. And instead we wrote this messy, gorgeous love. Like that's what we learned. I mean, many things, but a lot of it was about relational practice, tucked away in deep retreat. So yeah, Valerie and Gabriela, good to see you. Hello.
Hi, so good to be here with you. Thank you for being here with us. Um, I don't fully have the question formed. It's more of like a felt sense, but I still feel like something can happen. Um, with this three-way sati, I notice maybe one of my biggest obstacles in relating is maybe like a dissonance between like a readiness to receive or a readiness to share, but then someone else is ready to share and I'm not ready to receive. So there's right like a kind of messy like just even sitting with my heart and listening to it and feeling kind of more of like a crumpled, closed, and yet like in the world and in relationship. So I just kind of wonder about um that aspect of relating to self and other. And then the third, I see it in my relationship, but I see it in a lot of relationships, even in my work as well, of like navigating that. I don't know, like
Yeah.
energetic dam
Yeah.
dance. I don't know which. I don't know.
Yeah,
Thank
it's a
you.
great question. I mean, I feel like we both have different responses to it, but my first hit is like dukkha, right? It's going to be dukkha. And that incompatibility is more likely than compatibility, right? Your timing is more likely to not match with whoever is you're with in the moment. So I think kind of coming back to basics of like, yeah, you might be ready, they're not. And then when they're ready, you're not. That's like the two bumpy wheels trying to sync up. So I think having a lot of patience and a lot of room for it to be messy that way. And also to know like sometimes you'll get what you need and other times they'll get what they need. And that's also part of it is we talk a lot about the middle way in the book. It's like, autonomy versus connection, self-indulgence versus self-denial. These are all ways that we kind of walk this tightrope, together. And John and Julie Gottman, we draw a lot from their research in the book. And I think they said they have this famous saying around like, whoever you choose, whoever you're with, that's the set of problems that you're choosing. And so it's like, choose your dukkha, right? You can have different incompatibilities with different people, but know that as soon as you're in relationship with somebody, there's going to be a set of dukkhas that you're reckoning with, that you both are. So I would give it a lot of grace. Like, yeah, not always a perfect synced up situation, and how great that you all get to, everybody gets to practice the middle way, meeting each other. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Looks like somebody in
Question
the
in the
room.
hall.
Mhm.
And I think when you're done, turn it off. That might have been part of the echo.
Okay. Hi, thank you all
Hey.
so much for being here with us. Um, so yeah, my question, it's from a friend. Just kidding. um, so many of our relationships, whether it's parents or a partner or a friend or whatever, there's these deep-seated patterns that are just so difficult to move. They seem so concretized, and I'm wondering if you all have ever experienced that with one another, or
No, we've never had that.
and how you go about sort of chipping away at some of those things, because the resistance can feel so, as I said, immovable. That pattern. So,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I think for us to say, yes, I really relate to that. And I think part of the middle way is this balance between acceptance and engagement. So Carl Rogers very famously said, the curious paradox is that when I fully accept myself, then there's the possibility of change. And I think it's the same for that third space, the deep listening to the relationship where those dynamics live that are so stuck. It's like, it's not my dynamic necessarily. It's not your dynamic necessarily. It's this dynamic of the relationship itself. And so allowing that this dynamic is really here with a lot of patience and a kind of genuine engagement, which is not trying to defeat it or get rid of it or make it go away, but is also at the same time in an honest dialogue with the problematic nature of this stuckness. Boy, it is a really long and challenging and potentially beautiful journey. So we have been through this so many times together. Like, those moments where you're just like, why does it have to be this way? Why is it so hard and so stuck? But there's something about the the letting the aversion soften, or letting the fight with it ease up and just be like, yeah, it is like this. It is exactly like this. It is no other way than this. Then we can start to get in there. As long as there's resistance to it, it's so hard to let the pattern unwind itself. That's my first pass.
Yeah, it's so humbling, isn't it? I mean, we've had lots in our past, Nico and I think we're gonna have a lot more. It's like a friend said to us, now you've written this book, you can't ever separate. And I don't think that's true. I mean, in the book, we talk about impermanence. Like things change, people change, relationships change, and there has to be a lot of grace around that. And also like when things are not changing and you wish they would, you know. It's just such a humbling path. And I think there's nothing we can predict about this. I mean, one reason we had this, we have this subtitle, A Buddhist Guide to Lasting Partnership. But one thing we really wanted to say in the very beginning in this first chapter of Relationships Are Rough is like, we got to recognize that lasting isn't necessarily the best, right? Like we have this cultural value that it is, should just be, till death do we part. And yet in a Buddhist way, if we're really listening in these three ways, there's got to be a whole lot more room for renegotiating, for recontracting, for flexibility and shifting for impermanence and understanding what our real needs are, getting creative with it. So I think that's part of these tools that we're trying to offer is like, can there be enough deep listening, enough, rain listening inside, becoming familiar with loving yourself, loving your emotions to then bring that to the table and then let go of the results. It's like none of us are in control really. And so how do we use whatever dukkha's arising to awaken? And that might mean, a lot of different change is coming. And there's beauty in that too. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for the question, Adam. Yeah, it's real. It's real. The whole thing is real.
Yeah, you could also read, just skip to chapter 4. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Chapter 4, Walking the High Wire.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I will. Is there, okay.
One more question?
Great.
Good evening. Here it is. I'm young. My name is Larry. My Tibetan name is Dorji. And my question involves a 3-year retreat and how intensive. I'd like to. Yours was maybe not continuous, of course, and you were in and out. but because I've had a friend, I've traveled a bit in India and Sri Lanka, and I had a friend who's visited some Westerners that have been in a real 3-year retreat. And I've seen some of these places in Ladakh where there's a temple and then there's a series of buildings and there's a little window where they stick the food in, and there's a person in there for 3 years, almost like solitary confinement. And my friend who visited some Westerners who were in a slightly reduced version of that, like took guests and said they seemed to be becoming a bit spacey, and that their minds were drifting out somewhere, and they're not. It seemed like it may have been, their practice may have been becoming disjointed in some way because of the prolonged isolation. I'm wondering if even in your periodic, if you did do periods of total isolation without contact, did you notice any strange things happening? Or do you know any people that have been doing this in these places, 3-year retreats in the US, like a solid, 3-year complete isolation?
Yeah, we do. I mean, it's very extreme, and when we do extreme things, it's both like beautiful, there's such depth there, and it's really easy to get out of balance. So we did too. We did all the practices that are involved in a 3.5-year retreat. We had a lovely transmission lama who, gave us the whole curriculum. And at a certain point, we both did get really energetically out of balance in the most kind of intensive solitary part. I think it was between the second and third year that we were just really, really in it. And energetically, things started to go off the rails a little bit. But we were lucky because we had 2 wonderful lamas who were guiding us, very much in touch with us. Mingyur Rinpoche is very he's up to date with technology. And so we didn't have reception or electricity where we were, but we would climb up this mountain and we would be able to send messages to him through WhatsApp when he was in his monastery in Nepal. And I remember one time getting so out of balance and kind of scared. I was having just a lot of energy movement and weird stuff happening inside my body. And Mingyur Rinpoche heard this message and he just flipped into like Tibetan grandma mode where he was like, just make sure you're getting enough to eat. Are you eating protein? Like, how much protein are you eating? Make sure you get enough protein. And then are you getting exercise? He was like, maybe do some jumping jacks, like exercise your body. He was really concerned about that. He was like, take hot baths, hot water bottle. He had all of these like really soothing, supportive suggestions. So we had good leaders who helped us, and they were kind of like, this is par for the course. At some point you're going to go off balance. So there's much more we could say about that. Lots of stories.
But it's in the book.
Yeah, it's somewhere in the book.
Yep. Thank you very much for your candor. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Friends, we are at the end of our time here together. So I don't know if you heard, but we wrote this book. And so I'm going to put the link in here. Nope, it didn't work. Hold on one second. We wrote this book, and I'm going to put the link in here. And there is so much more in the book than what we got to today. There's things about conflict styles and rupture and repair and what patience really means and what it doesn't mean and how to cultivate joy together and all these different pieces that we think are really, really helpful for partnership, also for any kind of relationship that you happen to find yourself in. It has been a really sweet and deep pleasure to be here with all of you. Thank you, Adam, and to the whole community for inviting us. And hopefully someday we'll get there in person. We've been talking to Adam for a long time about trying to get there in person, but we haven't worked it out. We haven't figured it out yet. So someday we'll see you.
But really honored. What a delight. Just thank you so much. Yeah, really grateful.
Thank you all so much. It's been wonderful to speak with you and hear your wise words. I'm wondering if one of you would like to close us out with some sharing of merit or some metta, or however you'd like to close.
Yeah. Wow. Well, we got a lot of goodness. You can see all the hearts exploding. And it's such a beautiful teaching, whenever we gather to practice, there's this shining that happens, this punya, such a beautiful word. Punya means merit, but it's also this kind of glow of goodness that comes through shared practice. And so we can just let our whole bodies and hearts kind of take all that in, we get to steep in that, really receive all that goodness. And then from this abundance, just imagine shining it out into the world too, so that we can share all this punya with the world. May all beings everywhere give and receive all the love that they need. May all beings feel safe and happy and healthy and held. And may all beings ultimately be free. May we all keep waking up together. Oh, thank you, everyone. Have a really sweet evening there.